There we go. I work as director of the ImpAct Consortium, which is a consortium of 10 organisations internationally working to improve the effectiveness of microfinance in achieving its social goals. I'm also working part-time for a microfinance organisation in South Africa, the Small Enterprise Foundation, as head of their research and development, really focusing on improving their effectiveness, but very much working with the practical side of microfinance. I've also just got back from Haiti. If you hear a bit of a wheeze in my voice, this is the chest infection I picked up swimming in the sea in Haiti. But I will talk a little bit about Fonds, which is a microfinance organisation in Haiti, which I think is quite interesting and quite relevant for tonight's discussion. So I want to talk first a little bit about what I've seen, about the power of microfinance, about the impact that microfinance has in changing people's lives. This is one of the clients of SEF in South Africa. It really represents, to me, some of the biggest impacts that you see in microfinance, the change in people. Not material gains, but the sense of confidence, the sense of self-worth, the stories you hear when a woman goes from not looking in the eye, talking quietly, staring at the ground, changing, coming out of herself and actually looking in the eye and saying, I'm a person, I've got some value. People talk to me now. I've got a lock on my door because I've got something of worth inside. I can send my children to school because they're not dirty, they've got clothes to wear, those sort of things. This is a picture from Fonds in Haiti of a client called Wilma and the change in her housing conditions over the time. So I'm passionate about microfinance. I've seen the changes that it can make in people's lives. We've talked about food, the impact, and really the economic impact and how that can translate into all sorts of aspects of people's lives. But I've also seen, in a sense, the dark side of microfinance. My formative experience in microfinance happened probably about 15 years ago now. Before I actually started working in microfinance, I was working for a British NGO in Kenya, an NGO that takes a very sort of holistic, integrated approach to development. I was working in an arid area of Kenya where the rains had failed 3 times in succession. So that means they have 2 rains a year, so a year and a half. We went out with the ActionAid. Whoops, sorry, I wasn't going to tell you the name of the organisation, but anyway. We went out with the field worker from the organisation, from ActionAid. And we drove to a group of women. And basically they work, so they go into, they choose the particular poor area. They say, we're going to make a 10-year commitment to this area. They select the poorest people to work with. They then work in a very integrated way and say, what are the problems in the community? How do we address these? So we sat down, it was in the afternoon, and we sat down with a group of 10, 12 women in a semicircle, and we spent an hour talking about how bad things were. Livestock were dying. People were leaving the area because there was no food. They were going out searching for food. And we spent this time talking about what was happening. And in the meeting, some of the women started falling asleep, sort of nodding off, and they were really embarrassed, and they said, look, we haven't eaten today. We're tired, we're falling asleep because we haven't eaten. At the end of the meeting, I don't know how many people have spent time in Africa, but the women started putting their hands inside the bras. I don't know if people know what that's about, but basically that's where they keep the money. It's a safe place to keep your money. And they started taking out some money, gathered the money together, and they gave it to the field worker. Tick, 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 wrote it all down in his book, put on his helmet, jumped on his motorbike, ready to go. And I said, hang on a second, what's going on here? We're talking to starving women, and they are giving you money. He said, no, don't worry, it's the repayment for the loans. Look, 100% repayment, no problem. So I said, look, let's go and talk to them again. Let's find out what's happening. We went back and we talked to them and said, how are you able to repay your loan if you say you haven't got enough money for food? And they said, look, we have to repay our loan. If we don't repay our loan, we're not going to get another one. It's our credit, it's our lifeline. So I said, what, but where did you get the money from? And they said, no, we sold a chicken today. And that's the power of microfinance. As well as the change of people's lives, is the power to, in a sense, get starving people to sell food. So that's, in a way, that's how I got into microfinance. And I want to talk about what we can learn from that. And in a sense, the message is really, yes, microfinance is powerful, yes, it impacts on poverty, but not all microfinance is good. It's about the quality, it's about what it achieves, as well as what it delivers. It's not just about putting money into people's hands. And the impact of microfinance is not automatic. So I want to put on a sort of academic hat very quickly and just sort of talk about why microfinance is so powerful. Partly it's about the opportunity. It's about the potential that people have and the opportunity, the potential that it releases. The ability to save, the ability to invest alone in a business, the ability to access finance in different ways creates an opportunity. But poor people, by definition, are vulnerable. Life is risky. Bad things happen. It's inevitable. And if you're poorer, it's more inevitable. The poorer you are, the more likely bad things are going to happen to you. Illness, death, disaster, climate, whatever. And the poorer you are, the less likely you are to be able to cope with that. And that's really where microfinance comes in. So microfinance is partly about opportunity. It's partly about investment, a loan, productive use of loans, saying, let's invest that, let's create an opportunity, let's increase the standard of living, let's move out of poverty. But it's also about reducing risk. It's about reducing vulnerability and helping people cope with those problems when they happen. And how do you cope with those problems? First of all, you save. Secondly, you develop assets. Thirdly, you have insurance if you have a payment. Thirdly, you have access to remittances. People, networks overseas send you money. Foncazé, as I talked about in Haiti, has a very nice model, which actually they plagiarized from me, but anyway. It's the idea of a staircase, and we're talking about people moving up a staircase. So partly it's about investing. We always focus on credit and loans and investing money in businesses. So microfinance helps people move up the staircase. But if you move up, you can also come down again. Financial crises happen. People get knocked back. So microfinance is also about how do we stop people getting knocked back, or if they do get knocked back, making sure they don't fall so far. And as I say, it's these other financial services. It's also things like education, health services, linkages to other things which actually strengthen people's livelihoods, make them less likely to fall back. So Foncazé has developed this sort of model where they have programs for people at different levels. They have a program for the extreme poor at the bottom, which includes cash transfers, assets, so they give people productive assets, goats, money for businesses, chickens. They give them a lot of individual support and attention, which helps them to raise to the next level, which is called petit crédit. In Creole means small credit. This is a 6-month credit program where people get a loan, a productive loan, but they also get a lot of support. They get a lot of hand-holding. They get insurance. They're encouraged to save. After 6 months, the aim is that they get to the next level, which is the main solidarity lending program, the credit program, which also, again, links to education and training. There's a lot of there's support in there. And if they get past there, they can go to business development, which is the individual lending program for people with strong businesses who need more sophisticated support. And this is really, in a sense, their staircase out of poverty. It's about promotion, it's about opportunity, and it's also about how to protect people.